In this video, we are looking at the structuralism theory in anthropology. This is one of the major theories in the discipline that has defined research for many decades that allow us to understand the human mind as well as society, culture, and how culture is perceived within society. So let's take a look at this a bit closely. And this theory was pioneered by Claude Levi-Strauss. And it's a very interesting one because it challenges us to think differently. It challenges us to begin to understand culture in a different way and to contextualize this whole concept within society. All right, so let's take a look at this closely. So it says here structuralism in anthropology states, right? Structuralism theory in anthropology states that human culture can be understood by examining, right? So let's take a look at this closely. Examining, we all know what that means, but just in case, that is looking at, analyzing, understanding, breaking down, right, the underlying universal structures of the human mind. Now, the question is, what are those underlying universal structures of the human mind, right? What does that mean? Human mind is composed of a lot of things, including critical thought, including understanding, and including opinions, perceptions, and concepts and ideas and so forth. All of those things are part of the human mind. Let's take a look at this again one more time. This theory, structuralism, states that human culture can be understood by examining underlying universal structures of the human mind. And those universal structures of the human mind, once again, the way we think, our thought process, our concepts, our ideas, ideologies, and what have you, all of those things reside in the human mind. And those structures then allow us, right, to understand culture in a more detailed way. These structures often based on binary oppositions. Binary is two oppositions, nature, culture, right? For example, nature, culture, male, female, right? For example, good, bad, right? For example, etc., are believed to shape how humans think. So these binary oppositions begin to define how we think. We think within the context of male, female, black, white, good, bad, right? Nature, culture, etc. These structures are often based on binary oppositions, once again, like nature, culture, male, female, etc. And these, right, binary oppositions are believed to shape how we think as humans, how we perceive, how we interact, and how we deal with society, regardless of cultural context. Now, let's understand this very closely. Once again, it says structuralism in anthropology, right, states that human cultures can be understood by examining the underlying universal structures of the human mind. And we just stated when we talk about structures, then we're talking about how the human mind thinks, opinion, ideas, concepts, how we think, right? The different thought processes and so forth, all of those things are part of the human mind. And these structures then often based on binary oppositions like nature and culture, male, female, good, bad, right? White, black, and so forth. You take your pick, are believed to shape how we think. So we think within those parameters, and thinking within those parameters then shape how we see society. We see society in a very limited way because it's a binary focus. So perceive and interact regardless of cultural context. So cultural context is irrelevant here when we are looking at society, according to this theory, because we look at society within the binary oppositions of nature, culture, male, female, good, bad, white, black, and so forth, etc. The focus is on uncovering the relationships and patterns between cultural elements rather than studying them in isolation. So we want to understand, right, the relationship between and patterns between the different cultural elements in society. the different aspects of culture. And those aspects of culture, we can talk about festivals, we can talk about events, activities, we can talk about traditions and norms and customs. All of those things are part of the cultural elements we're talking about, right? So the focus is on uncovering the relationship and patterns between the different aspects of cultural elements, right? So, for example, events, cultural events. For example, festivals, right? This is festivals. For example, traditions. For example, customs. All of these are cultural elements. What is the relationship between and amongst these elements is what we are trying to understand, is what is the focus of structuralism. Trying to understand those connections and making sense of those connections is very critical in this theory. All right, so just to make sure we understand this concept, there are a few things you need to highlight here. One is binary oppositions, understanding by examining underlying, right, universal structures of the human mind. We already established what those structures are, right? Opinions, critical thinking, ideology, concepts, and so forth. These structures are often based on binary oppositions, right? So when we think about these things within the context of two factors or two elements, binary, right? Good or bad, nature, culture, male, female, white, black, etc. Right? And these binary elements are believed to shape how we think as humans. Again, we see things within the prism of this binary opposition and binary idea and binary concepts. And we perceive and we interact based on these binary oppositions as well, regardless of the cultural context, right? So the way we perceive is not influenced by the cultural context. Rather, the way we perceive supersedes the cultural context. The focus then is on uncovering the relationship and patterns between the cultural elements, events, festivals, traditions, customs. We have nuances in cultural context. We have different aspects of culture that we need to understand the connections and the relationships between these elements. This is structuralism theory in anthropology, a very famous theory that has shaped research and the way we understand culture and the limited way that humans view culture within the binary oppositions that really limit the way we understand culture. So it's important to understand this aspect as well. It limits the way we understand culture because we are looking at culture within two lenses. And that may not be sufficient. Culture is this ocean of idea that needs multiple lenses to understand its composition. This is structuralism in anthropology.